Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well, that you're happy and healthy and having a wonderful day. It's beautiful out there. Happy Sunday. I can't believe the weekend is almost done already. Oh, wow. Where does time go, right? And when you're having fun. And yeah, so thank you again for joining me today. If you're here with me, and if you're returning, and welcome to those that are new. I hope you join in, and I can help you in some way with what I share. So anyway, let's first do what I always do, and let's thank Papa and our angels and spirit guides for guiding, loving, and protecting all of us on our journey. And thank you for helping me channel all the messages to you, everything that you need to hear, that they need to hear right now. Thank you, Papa, so very much. We love you. All right. So, yeah. So, how am I going to start this, right? What do I always do, right? I said, Papa, I wake up in the morning, and now I'm tired, okay? I'm tired. I've been doing, this is my 4th video, and it takes so much energy of mine, and emotions, feeling everything I'm going through as I tell you my story. Right, so I'm tired today, but so I asked Papa. I said, Papa, should I do this one today, or should I just wait? And he told me, he said, well, Louise, he said, meditate on it, and then make sure you take care of yourself, and then you'll know. You'll know by doing that. So I just feel like I need to make the effort. I did it. I meditated and cleared my mind, right? And opened my heart and relaxed my body. And I feel that I need to try anyways to do this one. So I'm hoping that that it's the right thing. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about, so last night, right? Last night after I did my last video of the message from Papa, I was reflecting back on that video and my previous videos, and which when I ask for guidance, Papa always guides me back to my last videos to know where to begin. That's part of it. So I do, and it does help, and it does open things up for me, and along with what he channels to me. So that's beautiful. And but last night I was really struggling. I was struggling because those that know me know that I really don't want to. I'm gonna get emotional again, but I'm feeling it again, right? I really don't want to hurt anyone that I love, and I wouldn't be doing this if Papa didn't want me to. So I told him, I said, Papa, I really am struggling. I'm struggling with this because I'm going to have to say things about my family, and I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt my parents. I don't want to hurt my kids, and that's not my intention. And you know what he said? He said to me, he said, I want you to do this. He says it's okay. And he said, basically, he comforted me like he always does, and he reminded me of my message of when he said to me, he said, Louise, remember when you said that I know what's best for everyone, and I do what's best for everyone. I said, yeah, I do. And he says, you don't understand yet why I'm asking you to do this. And but trust me, right? Trust me. So this is where I have to go in and trust him. So I'm going to do that. I said, okay, thank you. So yeah, I just had to share that with you. And yeah. But and then I just wanted to thank some people, because I've been having a few people reaching out to me, which has been meaning like so much to me, and saying how they admire me for doing what I'm doing and putting myself out here like I am. And so it's benefiting people as well. I'm seeing that. I'm already seeing that. So, and it's not about the recognition for me again. And I don't, even if I hadn't, if no one would tell me, I'm okay with that. I know it's getting out there, and the people that need to hear it are going to. God is going to put that video in their path so they can benefit from it. That's how it works. That's how he works. So that's what matters to me. And I started my YouTube channel, like I said before, to reach as many people as I can. So with that being said, I want to again just thank you. You know who you are. And I really appreciate every one of you. And I never forget those who are there for me. So, yes. And I always say that one day, if I make it big, those that are been in my corner, and all my life I know who you are, and I will show up for you in big ways. So anyway, I appreciate you, and I love you all very much. So thank you again, and I value you. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to go into, and then I'll go into valuing people and relationships and all that, because I do have something I want to share with you on that. But going back to my channel, so I have my channel Heal in Love with Me, which is unfolding beautifully, and it's really been really appropriate. The name's really appropriate, I find, because this is exactly how I've been working. It's through healing our wounds and loving again, right? And getting that love we deserve. So anyway, it's so good, it's so positive and exciting to see that growth, to see how it all is unfolding. But anyway, so on my bio on Facebook and social media, for those who see me there, if you would go to my Heal in Love with Me channel, YouTube channel, you can click on that link, and then there's a box that shows up, and you just put in Heal in Love with Me, and you'll find my videos on YouTube. My videos are better quality to view. The pictures are better. The voice even sometimes sounds better, the voice quality I found, than Facebook. I don't know, it's clearer. It's just more, I don't know why it uploads like it does on Facebook sometimes. But, so anyway, and I would appreciate your support there. Like, subscribe, help me get my content out, not for recognition for me, but to get my content out to everyone. Now, so my real supporters, please do that. Please do that. You'll be actually, it'll be good for you. You're participating in something good by doing that, because I need your help to get the content out as well. So spread that good karma out, that good energy, that love, right? And we're all in this together, right? We all need each other to do this. So help me get it out there, please. If I can just say that one thing, to help someone else somewhere far, that doesn't have access to as easily as everyone on my Facebook page and social media. So anyway, thank you. And then, yeah, so I wanted to say that, but, yeah. So how am I going to do this? How do I begin? I feel, one more thing I wanted to say is, I get really emotional, right? I've told you how I feel everything, but Papa has given me this another beautiful gift of, now again, I'll share with you. We have so many gifts that he gives us if we find it, and just look for it. And my one thing he does for me for protection is that I'll feel things, right? And I experience things, but then he also, not that I forget them, but I sort of do. I don't know, lack of better words, is that I say it, I feel it, but it doesn't stay in my mind. It leaves it, and I kind of forget. Like, I let it go and I forget it. So it doesn't stay with me. So that's a beautiful thing, a beautiful protection that I have. So, because I look back on my videos and I even forget, even as I'm clicking onto them, what I was actually, the pain that I was feeling. So he wipes that off. He wipes that away from me after I do let it out. So that's great. I wanted to share that with you. So please don't feel bad if you do of how I am feeling. I'm not looking for that. But it's important we feel our emotions, and it's great to express them, and I am doing that. And it's all part of healing as well, right? It really is. So, thank you. So with all of that, let's go into where I left off, okay? Let me bring you now into my story, into my shack. If you saw my last message, I really recommend that you go there first and you look at it before going into this part, okay? So, and you will understand what I mean for that. Okay. So, yeah, so I do have to give you more of my experiences, right? And where my life direction was where it was going at that point. So, where I left off in my last video, and no, Papa, help me with that, which I'm not alone in doing, by the way, because I listened to a lot of speakers, and I caught them doing a lot of and I'm gonna put a little humor in this too. So I'm not alone in doing that. Again, we're all human, and it's just the way it goes, right? And I'm really just starting to find my voice. So I am, what did I do? So it's funny. So I am finding my voice, and just remember that. And I'm going to evolve in doing this like everything else, and it'll get better. So anyway, thank you for that, letting me say that, and yeah, so my quirkiness coming out. And I want to play a little bit. I need to play a little bit. It's been a long weekend. Anyhow, so where I was, okay, I'm gonna have to get there. So my last video, I was, give up. No, I don't give up, but I was alone at the apartment at this point, and I think Papa's trying to lighten my mood a little bit. Thank you, Papa. And my 3 kids and my parents were gone, and so I'm just another thing I just wanted to say is that so through my experiences, it really hurt. It really hurt that another thing is that I knew, and what I knew and I heard, and as time went on, that my parents wanted me to be codependent on them. They wanted to live with the kids, right? Naturally, they wanted the kids to be with them, and I get that. I really do. But it wasn't healthy, and I deserve what I deserve as well. And so anyway, So I also know that, so when all of my they didn't want me to excel. They didn't want me to really like excel and do well. I saw that. It was clearly seen. And I know that now, that they wanted me to, like when they moved away and they built their house, ultimately from how I could see it and what I knew, they wanted, and it was in the hopes that I would go back to them, that I would struggle and struggle and struggle and couldn't make it on my own, that it would be too hard and I would go back to them. And again, that's that kind of, it's manipulative, it's controlling, it's manipulative, and it's codependency, right? It's not healthy and it's not fair again, right? And that hurt me. That really hurt, because I wanted to, you want to be accepted, and you want your parents to believe in you and to support you and to help you grow. And it hurt me, that wasn't what I was getting. So yeah. And I think it surprised them ultimately that how it was, and I kept going, and I didn't give up, and I was getting through all the obstacles as hard as they were. So anyway, so let's go there, okay? So I was there at the apartment with my kids, working on us and our stability. And then I was working at the hospital, and I had a friend there. She was young, she was very pretty. We connected, and we shared our stories and our life, and she told me, eventually when she knew that I was, where I was single and divorced and with my kids, and she said, my brother is, and he's separated, and he has 2 boys, and I'd love to introduce you to him. So I was open to it. Didn't do it right away, but because I was dealing with a lot of other stuff, and I was focused on that. But eventually we did meet. So they came over. I remember the day they came over. She and her brother came over to my apartment, and we met each other. Now, it was a nice meeting. He was very nice. At first, I really was I was guarded, right? Which we become guarded the more we go through. And I really didn't accept the relationship right away, and I wasn't sure about whether I wanted to pursue it or not. It's not fair, but I was starting to, there was some qualities or some things that I saw in him that reminded me of my ex-husband, and that was like, oh gosh, oh no. So that would trigger me, and then I was already guarded, and I was like, I don't think so, and I didn't even know him yet at this point, right? So I wasn't rushing into anything. And then again, I need to say this one other thing before I go deeper with our relationship. But now at this point, I have experienced some losses. I've lost my family. I've lost a lot of things. I've lost friendships. I've lost families. I've had to move. I've lost my stability. So it's not only relationship. I've lost in like all my areas of my life, financially, my platonic relationships too. I've lost all of this stuff, and I lost my kid's dad, and lost a lot of support, and so I'm dealing with a lot of loss already, right? And there's still grieving, and I am in counseling, which was good. I did stay in counseling for about a year when that happened, when I went in the second time. So she helped me, give me the strength, and I had no other support really other than work, friends, to really, keep me going, keep me on the right track to get me where I needed to be. So again, God put people in my life that I needed at the time. So And I want you to tell you this. Again, I was dealing with a lot of emotions too. I didn't understand. I didn't understand anything at this point. You know, why? Well, the thing was this, why? Why me? Why? I always try my best, right? I always put all my all into it. Why is this happening to me? I don't understand, you know? And yeah, so I was feeling really low and I didn't understand. Like I said, I'm saying it over and over again, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I'm dealing with grief and not understanding, and then, you know, in the grieving process, you feel that anger, and I was angry too. Don't get me wrong, you know, I have love in my heart, but not understanding and not healed fully. I had a lot of anger. I felt bad for the counselor sometimes, you know, because I would go to her office and I'd be fine. I would feel like, oh, okay, let's start, and I would be feeling great. Next thing I know, I'm yelling at her. I am bringing out all these emotions, the anger, the frustration. Again, she knew how to like open me up indirectly, and it was like I would leave there again, right? It's hard work. It is. It hurts. You have to feel all these emotions. And I'd leave there drained. And at first I didn't understand the healing process. So I'd be like, excuse me, I'd be like, you know, I got something in my mouth. I got hair. I'm sorry. Okay, got it. How did it get there? So thank you. But I was like, I don't understand. I'm like, you know, I was feeling so drained, and I was leaving there feeling more sad and more, you know, just feeling awful, right? Just And then I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. But that is right. That's the way you're supposed to feel, because you're bringing it back up. You have to bring it out to feel it, to heal it, right? And release it. So that's what was going on. But I was going through it. So I was going through it as well. And anyway, and so my hair is all like this because that's how I felt. I was like all like this. That's always a mess, right? So now I'm going to show you right now. That's what he wants me. Papa's obviously making me do this because he wants you to show me. I was feeling like, rah, you know, this is crazy. So anyway, it's funny too, right? So, but that's what you have to do. Anyway, so, thank you for bringing the humor in this. It's helping me a whole lot. See how he's working? He's helping me lighten this up a little bit. Oh, thank you, Papa. And, so, yeah. And, so I was doing the work that way, but I didn't understand it yet. And I wasn't healed enough yet. It takes a long time. It can take a long time. So, yeah. So anyway, and then, but what I did do is, what I did already learn at this point was the value of those that were with me and were there for me. You know, and see, that's the other beauty about, going through what I did, is that it showed, I looked at relationships already, started looking at it a little differently. You know, I started to feel like super grateful. I could see the value in having someone who was treating me well in my life. You know, my friendships, whether it's their coworkers, whether it was work-related, whether it was friendships, whether it was, you know, partnerships of any kind. And so I saw that value, and I often, even to this day now, I look at, I see some really beautiful people that are treated so badly by family or other people in generally, and I'm like, it's so sad to me, because I'm like, if you only understood how blessed you are when you don't have something in your life, right? You know how blessed, you see the blessings when others have it, you see their blessings, but they don't. don't necessarily see it, right? Because they haven't gone through that, or you know. So, and like I saw how blessed my siblings and my friends were in being able to be in long-term relationships, and have that strong family unit, and that's beautiful. So I could have chosen to be resentful, and sometimes I hurt. I'm human, and it was hurtful. And when I thought of it, I was maybe a little envious, too. I was envious that I couldn't have it, like I said, and so I felt all those emotions, the anger, the sadness, it was just everyone, So, yeah, but I was very happy but in overall, when I could just work through those emotions, and then overall just look at the big picture, I was so happy for them, and that's how you have to look at it. You have to be grateful and be happy for other people, even though you don't have everything you want, because they deserve it just as much as you do. And then it's beautiful to see that it is there. It's nice, and that's how I looked at it. That's what I could tell you. That's my advice to you, is to try to look at it in that light. It's like, you might not have it, but look how beautiful it is, and they have it, and it's there. So it gives you hope that you will be there too one day, and it's possible. So, and I needed that, and so I had to be a big cheerleader for myself as well at that point. And I tried my best. Wasn't always the best one. I'd fall, just like everyone else. Get myself back up again and dust myself off, and then do it again, try over again, right? So, yeah, and that is life. So is life. And so, and just like, again, and another thing I just love to really say is that I had a lot of negative thoughts that I had to really work on, and I still need to work on. Like I said, it's the struggle. When you've been programmed a certain way all your life to believe and think something, it's hard to break that. It becomes habit. That's normal for you, right? So I had to learn to change the way I thought. And what I did is, for every negative thought that I'd have, I'd think of something positive. So, and it was hard to do, and I had to really think about doing it, be very conscious, be really aware of it to do it. But then it eventually comes easier. Like with anything else, you have to put in the work. So, but it's all worth it because of where you end up in the end, and that's your goal. You have to keep sight. You have to focus on the goal, right? And just go for it. So, that's my advice for that. So anyway, so I met my friend's brother, like I said, and for the way it started is that we would talk a lot on the phone, and we were supportive of each other, of what we were going through. And again, just a little history about him, and I'm not going to spill everything out of all of his dirty laundry and all of his struggles and everything, but he did suffer childhood trauma as well. And it was women did it for him. His mom, for him, he had a lot of trauma with her as a young child that he carried with him. He had a traumatic injury when he was a teenager that put him into a coma. Brain injury for a couple of weeks, and that was hard for him to come out of, and the pain, physical pain that he was experiencing, and the memory losses and everything. And so he had a lot on his plate there too, growing up. And he grew up in it wasn't an easy life for him, and he was in high school. He connected with his first wife, his boy's mom, and there was it was so toxic, so super toxic, and there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of substance abuse, and there was a lot of infidelity, a lot of betrayals. The kids were experienced all that. His boys did, and it was severe. And so he did the best he could in what he had to go through. But then again, see, now I'm going to be going into a relationship with you, showing how we were both coming to this unhealed again, right? He was unhealed, I was unhealed, and then he was actually at that stage where, like in the shack, when I was giving you those messages, he was angry, he was bitter, he was resenting, had so much resentment in his heart, and it showed, it affected his whole life. It did. I saw it, and so sad now that I understand it. But he wasn't healed from all that, and he actually, so trauma gave him a lot of trauma and in his life, so he didn't like women overall. They triggered him easily. And so I'm going into a relationship now where he already has this issue. So naturally I am going to experience that side of him. He's going to put that out on me. But I understand too. I understand why. And I do sympathize for everything he had to go through as well. So anyway, so I just needed you to understand his side as well, like I try to do for everyone. I see the whole picture, and he did have a good heart for me. He was there for me. I saw he opened up to me. He shared with me a lot about his childhood and about his life and his marriage, and he was pretty open about that. So I did I could really I could feel his pain, being empathetic again. So I saw the good in him, and I focused in on the good. But there was a lot of unhealthy things in there that would ultimately cause a lot of problems down the line, and it did. So but anyway, that's not for now to talk about. So I'm in this relationship, and it's going well. He had his boys, I had my kids, and his boys were still seeing their mom once in a while, but they experienced a lot of trauma, and they were bringing it into my family, because we ended up moving in together, and at that point I needed even more support for child care, and I was actually more financially well off and more secure than he was at this point. So he offered to help me, and we teamed up to support each other and where we needed to, since it looked like things were going well, that we were doing well as a couple at that point, and we connected and in good ways. And he was very present in my kids' lives. He'd take them fishing. He'd teach my boys how to, he'd teach them ride their bike. And again, they're very young still, and he'd take them out on the bike trail, and we would do that too all together. We'd go bike riding, and then he introduced us to boating, and because he grew up at boating. Part of a marina over in Perryville, Maryland, all of his life. He water skied, and that were his summers, and I loved that, and I never experienced that side in my life, and I found out I really enjoyed being around the water and boating and doing just that kind of thing. So that was really nice. So he was very protective, and I also, I had all these childhood woundings, right? And I was, again, not knowing what was healthy though. And I was, again, more accepting of certain behaviors too. So there was a few things that were presenting to me that were red flags, and I'll go into that, but I was accepting of it because I didn't really understand it, and I didn't know what my self-worth was again, and I've seen this kind of behavior growing up, so it was normal to me, and it was okay, it was acceptable. So there you go again, here I go again, here I go again. So yeah, but he has everyone, people, even though we're all broken, remember that we're all broken in some way, shape, I do this again, I do this all the time, some way, shape, or form in life. The more we experience things in life, we have things that happen to us, negative and positive, right? So we have to, so there's good. A lot of us have good hearts in a good place, and we do the best we can with what we know, and I keep saying that, and what we've lived, but we bring in all those woundings in, right? So again, that's the way it goes, and that's how it became. And but anyway, so my parents were still seeing the kids. And well, one more thing. So anyway, I now have this new job. I went to work at that inpatient unit, that new company that recruited me to this inpatient unit. It was a 32-bed inpatient unit, inpatient rehab, right? Where we would rehab people with traumatic illnesses and injuries, or like major surgeries like hip replacements, knee replacements, all that kind of stuff. So it was a bigger unit. This company was a young company. They had a lot of money, a lot of potential for growth, which I grew a lot in, and it was a wonderful opportunity, and I love my job. But I was working, and I liked the schedule. I liked working 12-hour shifts, so it was 3 days a week, every other weekend, and I loved who I worked with. You were all amazing. I just want you to know, everyone that sees my video, that I've worked with all my colleagues in Pennsylvania, how amazing you all are, and your hearts are all beautiful. And I saw some people that were really, really were in it for the patients, and they really, really took so good care of them, and I just appreciate every single one of you. And so anyway, wanted to say that first, but yeah, so I was working 3/12s. That was my schedule, but it was a new unit, so I was putting in more hours again, and I had that opportunity to do that. And then at that point I was living in a twin home, and my boyfriend at the time, my partner, and his boys were now coming into our lives and moving in together. And so we were going to try to help support each other and become a family, because I really needed it going into this new job because of the childcare issues I was having, and he could help me. And again, I was in a better position financially to do that. And that was okay with me, right? Because it's teamwork. And, that's what I really believe in. And I really know that, we say I'm big on reciprocity and equal give and take, but sometimes life happens. I get that. And sometimes you have to be the one to give more, and then the other one, and then it's the opposite, how the other way around happens, and then you need to have more help, and then your other partner has to support you more. So I get that, right? That's life, and that's what we do, right? It's teamwork again, right? It's partnership. So we're there to make it work, right? And that's a beautiful thing when that can work well. So and that's where I was seeing, and I saw that potential, and so I was looking. I understand, that there were some red flags and everything, and I was putting in a lot of hours too at work, and I wasn't always present at home, and I know that wasn't a good thing, and I was worried about that. So I know I probably missed, and most likely I missed a lot of things that were happening that I didn't really see, but I don't know for sure. I'm just putting that out there. I'm aware of those things, you know what I mean? But everything that I saw, and I was very proactive and hypervigilant, and making sure that I would watch and see how everybody was, and that everyone was okay, and things were going okay in their family. Because I know when you bring families together. It's hard, right? We come from different backgrounds now. We have all these emotions and baggages that we're bringing with us. And that's hard to bring into a blended family when you blend a family. It really is, with kids involved, especially. Now, two very unhealed adults. Okay. Oh my goodness. Right? So I get it. And, all right. But we did the best we could, right? So we gotta say that. And, it looked great. It looked fine. My end. Right there in this point. And, but I saw some red flags. What were they? Well, I wasn't paying attention to, okay, so I knew my partner had all these issues, right? He had all this trauma, and I knew he was still really suffering from all that, and so it wasn't healed. And that's a sign right there again, right? That you're going to bring that into the relationship. And the way he handled that wasn't healthy either. And he had a lot of anger. And, a lot of men, especially women too, but a lot of men will carry anger and bitterness, right? They do. Not every man. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to say that, and that's not fair. And I want to be fair. And that's not true. But, some people have a hard time to express their pain, right? Well, we do. We just do when we're going through trauma. I did too. So, that was how it was showing up. But I didn't see it like in my immediate surroundings. But what I did see is that how he was treating other people. And I was unhealthy, and I was bringing in what I knew was okay and acceptable at the time, and always super accepting of a lot of things as it was. So, but I didn't like it, but don't get me wrong, but I saw, if we go out to eat at a restaurant with him and his boys, and they would be making fun of the waitress and the way that they were acting, and it wasn't just like pointing it out, it was making fun. So that, I didn't like that, I thought that's not right. You just don't do that, and it's mean. And things like he had a lot of road rage, a lot of aggression towards others, that even strangers, So, so again, that was there, and I just ignored it because he seemed like he had, things were okay with us, and I can work with that. And again, I always went into relationships thinking, okay, well, they'll get better, and they'll change, they will change, or if I love them enough, right, which I do, when I love them, they're going to change, they're going to see that, and they're going to get better, and things will get better. So that's how I saw it, right? Again, that's not the way it is. I can't heal people. You can't heal someone else. You can't. Not like that. Not their own childhood stuff. They have to do that, and they need. And I didn't even know how to even guide him at that point to really work on that, because I didn't know how to either. So, in all fairness, anyway. So, yeah. My back hurts, sorry. But anyway, yeah, so that's what that was like. And then my parents were still having it was visitations, because they didn't really want me in their life. They wanted the kids. So they were still taking the kids. But now I'm in a relationship, right? And that they didn't want that, right? They don't want that. And then how I saw it too, by the way, that it was, being shown around me, is that now they were upset because now I'm getting into a relationship, and this is how I perceived it, right? Because of the way that our relationship has unfolded, is that now, they totally were against it. Totally from the beginning. They wouldn't even give him a chance. They wouldn't even get to know him before they started to judge him. And I was mad. And I'm a very protective person. And I will protect anyone when I see that something isn't fair. So, and that goes for everyone. I don't care who you are. If you're my family, friends, or whatever, or even a stranger. If it's wrong, it's wrong. So, and it was. So anyway, it made me angry, right? So wasn't right, but and then now at this point they saw that, oh, now being in a relationship, then I'm definitely not going to be going back, because so that was going to be over, and there was a point too, and I feel, and I hate to do this, but Papa's really, I've been pushing it back, and I should have said in my last video, but I didn't want to, because it's not a nice thing either, but my parents, I found out when I was in my apartment before I met my second husband, that ultimately, there were motives. There were motives in having me move away too, not just starting over, but and then they thought as well. This is my side of the story, okay? They thought by moving away with the kids too, that their father would eventually abandon them, and they would have the kids totally, and maybe they were thinking, that I would be there to help financially, but they could raise the kids. And my parents did say to me, my mom did say to me, and and again, this is with their insecurities, I understand, but she did say, that she loved that they felt needed with, having the kids with them made them feel needed, and I get that, but so they had stuff that they, that they needed to work through, and that's how it came out. So it made them feel needed. So that's why, it was one reason why. But so again, yeah, so this is what I was facing, and this is how I was, dealing with in my mind. And now they're not, again, all my relationships, it was always difficult. They never approved of it that way, for me to be in one. So that's how I was thinking, okay? That's how I was thinking. Okay, so they're going to fight me because they don't want me in a relationship, and I was going in with this attitude, right? Defensive already, but they didn't want to get to know him anyway. I wasn't being mean to them at all, but I was how I was feeling and thinking. So, so they were seeing them on some weekends, and then they would they want to find out information, and now, so they were digging for information. And they were doing investigations on their own and looking up things about him, too. So, he did have some issues with the law, having gone through the trauma he did, with his first, marriage. And, again, I never would fault anybody for that. I know, because I see the whole picture, and I could sympathize and empathize, and I know that we make bad choices for ourselves when we're in pain, and he didn't hurt anybody that, there, so it was like, I felt like they were trying to find some information purposefully to basically just to ruin him and ruin this. So anyways, that's how it felt, and that's what I saw. So anyhow, so now now his boys had a rougher upbringing, and they were a little older than my kids, and now they came in kind of rough and tough, and my kids were coddled by me and very overprotective, so they were used to my nurturing. I know I saw a lot of behaviors starting to happen, but I always tried to jump on top of it and address it as much as I could, as well as, and keep in mind, I'm working all these long hours, right? So, and a lot, and every day. So that was really rough. But again, I didn't see a lot of issues back then just yet. But, so my partner was home most of the time, and he was trying to help them with homework and trying to help, take care of all the responsibilities of everyday life with the kids when I was working, and he was rearing them as well, okay? And I do have to bring this piece in. So, moving into my home, buying my home, right? We all moved into the house I bought, and I had his father as a carpenter build a room downstairs, an extra room downstairs, big one with a half bath, so for the boys, because we had a lot of boys, right? Cassie had her own room and everything else. So, and it was nice, actually. It was nice. And so it got ugly, of course, right? It got only uglier. And I know he was trying to discipline them too at some points, you know, because they weren't getting along or they weren't listening, they weren't doing homework. You know how kids are, right? You know how they are. So now I wasn't aware of anything that was alarming at this point, okay? I wasn't. Now, I grew up, I didn't physically punish my kids, and I wasn't like that. I didn't want that for my kids. Now, I don't know for sure if this is what was going on. I was working again, long hours, and he was rearing the kids, and I knew that he was, you know, being authoritative, and he was, you know, disciplining them, but I wasn't aware that he was physically punishing them, and I don't know. I just didn't know, okay? And but this is why I'm saying this right now, because what happened afterwards was really, really big. My parents are taking the kids, right? And on some weekends, and they're really, really getting a lot of trying to get as much information, and basically I felt like as much as they could to find out what was going on in the relationship and at home. So instead of coming to me, and they really should have come to me, right? And so they were, they actually, and then they would give kids their baths and everything, you know, and they would see some bruises or some scratches or whatever. And, you know, kids are rough and tough. And here I have 4 boys now, you know, at very different ages, and they play, you know, and you know how that works and that happens. And anyway, I don't know how to really go into this gently or not, but so what happened is that my parents, there was things going on behind the scene there, and then I started to see behavior problems with my boys in what they were doing, and I wasn't understanding, and things were getting kind of messy. Here we go again. Life is messy, right? And so I wasn't understanding what was happening. Anyway, I only knew what I knew, what I was told, and what I could see. So I can only speak for that. So I'd start to see these behaviors, right? And so I pull my kids aside, and I would talk to them alone, and I would say, you know, you please tell me, is there anything going on that, you know, don't, you know, let me know. I want you to be okay. I want you to be happy. If there's anything going on, let me know. I will take care of it, you know. And they were assuring me that nothing was. Now they're little too, right? So, but they were assuring me that everything was okay, and they weren't telling me anything was wrong. But then all of a sudden, you know, again, with going to my parents, and once they started to go there, back and forth, and I'm in this relationship, then I noticed behavior problems beginning. And yeah, so I'm not going to really go into that for my kids, because it's not, I don't want to do that, but there were. And then, and I was trying to find it out. I really was trying to find out what was going on, and I couldn't pin it down. I couldn't find the answers to that. So, what happened is that my parents again were starting to accuse us of abusing them, basically, so to speak, especially my partner. you're saying that we were abusing them physically, and that's not what I was seeing, and that's not what was being shown to me with the kids, and that's not how I saw anything going down, okay? And so we were getting to a lot of arguments with my parents. Now I'm trying to show up here as accurate as possible, okay? So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm choosing my words well. But yeah, so what was happening is so things were happening behind my back, not good things, when they would visit my parents and then come home. And then after that, what was happening? Yes, so my father, so I did get a phone call at one point from my father, and he was mad. He didn't want me in this relationship, and he said to me, this is what he told me. He says he wanted me to give them the kids and take care of them financially, but let them raise them, and I'd be able to visit them. I'd have visitations. And I was like, no way, that is not okay. No. So I had to start really putting my foot down, because that was not right, and not fair. And again, the things that they were thinking, it was really hard, because again, I'm going through all these mixed emotions, because I'm thinking, well, if you're really thinking that my kids are being hurt, well, there was no concern at all being shown towards me, because if they're thinking that I'm in this abusive type of relationship again, I felt that I would be worried about my daughter, and I didn't feel, and I was like, so where is this all coming from, because that's what makes sense, right, to me, is that you would make sure your daughter is okay, that's in the relationship too, and that wasn't the case at all. So, and kind of like I was part of it. That's what it was like. That was what it was. So when that wasn't working, right? So at some point they went to the school system, and they were trying to get the school system. They were starting to cross all my boundaries, and I had to set some at this point, right? I wasn't letting them. I said, if this is going to happen, I can't really let this keep going on. It's not healthy. It's not right. So, but they were crossing every single boundary that I set. They were going to my school, the kids' school, and they were going to the guidance counselor and they were taking photos of bruises and there were some bruises on my kids. Well, they were playing their kids, right? And they weren't bad. They weren't. But they were taking them to the schools and showing them these photos that the kids were being mistreated and being abused and saying all this stuff. And then they were going to my babysitter. I did have a babysitter too in the neighborhood that was watching them sometimes, and they would go to her behind my back, and they would to see the kids, and I didn't even know about it. The sitter wouldn't even tell me. So this is stuff that was going on behind my back. And when everything else wasn't working, what they did was they went to DCYF and they started to have me, they put me through a whole year, believe it was a full year of investigation for abuse. So I had people coming into my home, and they were checking everything out, and they're great people to have, right? But it put me through a whole lot. And again, I was going through a lot of stress, and it put a big strain on my relationship again. Can you imagine? Now my partner is feeling attacked, and when he's already dealing with all his issues and bringing that into it, what that was starting to look like, not good, not pretty, right? So 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 now I'm in full defense mode, right? And attack, and from every attack coming at me, I felt in every direction. And then trying to keep my family together, and it was getting hard. So it was quite a battle I was facing. So yeah. So anyway, it came out to, that everything came back unfounded, and then and they said to me that anything that anyone tries to use in the court system is going to be thrown out of the court because of that. So they can't use that against me because it all came back unfounded. So it was really, thank God. So, it was a blessing that they came in, because that gave me peace there too. And I really needed it again at that point with everything that was going on in my life. And so anyway, yeah. That was really hard. And, so again, I was really hurt by it, because my parents, again, if they felt that my kids, that we were in a very unhealthy environment, why didn't they look like they cared about me, their daughter? That's, if my kids, I can only relate again, and I know everybody feels and thinks the same way, but if anything was happening like that in my family, I always, definitely I would be worried about my kids just as much as my grandchildren, and so that's how I felt. If they really were real, if it was really, to me, if it was really what they really thought it was, what it was, then I would have seen concern for me. And there was no concern for me at all, or my safety, and there was a lot, was met with a lot of aggression from them and attacks. And they were attacking me just as much. So that's what I was facing. And so I remember, and I'm so sorry. And this is where my human part of me just came in, and my unhealed wounds. But I remember, standing in front of my 3 kids by myself in the kitchen in my house, and I was starting to see how bad this was getting, because now they had their father's side of the family who was attacking me, and they wanted now the kids too, right? Now that was another issue, moving to Pennsylvania, is they wanted to get the kids back. So, and they were already pretty hostile with me as it was, so I knew that, and they were still having their visits with them, and so I knew they were up against me, and then I knew them. Now my family was starting to become against me, and I had very little support from any other family members. I really didn't. Yeah. And I was just getting my life back on track, building myself up. So imagine what the emotions, how hard that was for me and feeling, right? What I was going through. So I stood in front of the kids, and here I am. I'm pretty upset at this point. And I'm like telling him I'm trying so hard to keep us all together. I've been fighting and fighting and fighting all these years to keep us together. And I said, please say something. I'm sorry. I say something. Tell them. But they were little, and it wasn't fair, right? But that's my one weak moment, is that I did plead with them to start to talk about, because I didn't see anything going on. I didn't know anything but what was happening to me. I didn't understand. So, yeah. So as I'm pleading and I'm crying, right? I'm trying not to, because I'm really strong, and I don't usually do that. Because for my kids, right? But at this point, I did break down. It was too intense, and then I heard this God help me, and all I could see is He was showing me all these people up against me, and I could see it clearly. It was God showing me that now it was becoming something I couldn't fight off. It was becoming to a point where, and I didn't have the support system. I had no one to help me, to back me up. And so, sorry. So God was showing it to me, and He was showing me, He's like telling me, Louise, it's too big for you at this point to handle. You can't do it. You can't do it anymore. This is bigger than you, and I have to take over. Let me handle it. So he said, let go, let me in, let go, let God. Here is where he started to talk to me. Let go, let God. So yeah, and I wasn't okay with that, of course, but that's what he was saying. Yeah. So anyway, the kids were getting ready to go. Now at this point I put my foot down, and I had to stop contact with my parents, and it was getting close to summer, where they would have to go see their dad for the summer. So, yeah. And yeah. So I was still talking, to my siblings once in a while, like my sisters, my sisters really, like my oldest sister and all that, and my younger sister sometimes, and they were upset. They were really clearly upset with what was happening to me at that time as well, and they made that known. I could see that. So that helped a little bit, knowing that I wasn't alone there totally in that way. And so anyway, so I was getting ready for the kids to go to see their dad, and then I did get a phone call from my oldest sister, who lives in my home state where their dad was now, and I'm in Pennsylvania, right? And she was telling me, she said, do you know, Louise, that Mom and Dad basically she said, that my parents were going up this summer as well to my home state where my ex-husband was, and that they had contacted her about bringing the kids over to see her and visit them. So I said, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, I didn't know that. So they were getting, now at this point, they were contacting my ex, and they were arranging for together to so that my parents could see the kids when, during the time of their father's visitation time. So so that I was like really upset about that again, how, oh no. So I could start seeing that happening, where they were going to, where they were starting to do whatever they could to, Anyway, so yeah, anyhow, so what I did is I went to get a consultation with a lawyer to see if I could get a restraining order at that point, because now I was really afraid, of what was going to happen, so, the kids were already there, and they did go, my parents did see them, and they did go and they saw my sister, from what I understand, yeah. And now again, and at this point, right, let me back up just a little bit. Now my ex-husband is in another relationship, okay, and he, in the summers, he had been in this relationship for a little while now at this point, and she worked in a court system we're in our hometown, and I believe it has to do with children and youth, so that now I'm feeling, and then when they were visiting him in the summers and coming home, she was calling, and she was starting to step on my toes as a mother. Like she would get on the phone. It wouldn't be their dad so much. She'd get on the phone, and she would be saying, are you doing your homework? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And then I was like, that's not right. That's crossing the line. Now she's my ex's partner. Not married then, they weren't married, but that's not, they're back here with me. She has no right to be doing that. So I got on the phone and I gave it to her, and all that. And again, so, Yeah, and the very little things that I did confide in my mom about, that I struggled in rearing my kids. Like, we do have issues that come up, raising kids. It's not easy, so I'll tell you what happened, but she did yank and ultimately try to use that up against me as well. But so I was getting attacked by a lot of different people. I had a lot of different things happening, going on around me. So now my relationship has to, I have to put that on the side, right? Because of all the issues that I'm dealing. So I couldn't even determine, in other words, if this was a good relationship to continue with or not, because I had the stresses of dealing with what my family was putting me through. And that was my focus. So I had to, that was front line and center. That was what needed to be dealt with, first and foremost. So anyway, so if you can imagine that, okay? And yeah, so in the summers, they would go see their dad. This is before. Now, I went back a little bit, right? So my ex-husband was with this woman, who's now his wife, and everything, and my parents friended her and him, my ex. Basically, they knew what they put me through, and they friended them. And then I'd hear, when I was seeing my parents, I'd hear them say how nice she was and everything, and all this stuff. And then I felt my daughter was really talking, I felt like she was so much closer and liked her, and I was starting to lose that bond I felt with my kids too, and so I saw everything unraveling before my eyes. It was really hard, yeah. Anyway, so, I felt so bad because my son, my oldest, my son, he was in the middle of all these behavior problems. Out of the blue, he would just come up to me and he'd be crying, and he would cry, and couldn't tell me what was wrong. And he would just stand in front of me, cry, and he'd go, "Mommy, I love you so much. I love you. Sorry, Mommy, I love you." And because he's crying, he's sobbing, "I love you so much." And but he'd cry, and I'm like, "I love you too. I love you too. What's the matter?" And he couldn't tell me what was going on. And this is all part of these behaviors that I was seeing, and I didn't understand. But now I kind of get an idea. But he was you could see how he was getting tortured. It was torturing him because things were being told to them, negative things. And they were in the middle again. They were in the middle. He would come home from that visitation in the summer, that one year, and he would cry because he would say that Daddy was pulling him aside, and he wasn't. Now they were taking to my partner at the time, and they started calling him Dad, but we didn't force him to or anything, and he said that he was made to feel bad about doing that, and he'd cry. He fell apart in front of us, and he'd cry. So now they're starting to feel this tug of war going on, between the families and all these attacks, and it's taking a toll on them, and it was tearing me apart. It really did. So I couldn't bear it. And then, yeah, it's not fair. It's what it does to them, right? So, anyway, they went to the visitation. That summer, I'm going back, and my sister said that they were coming over with my parents, and everything was falling apart, and everything was very hostile, and so I tried to get the restraining order from against my parents to protect myself. And then the next thing I knew, before I could even get that in place, first it was a lot of money again, and I had all these debts, having a new home, building myself back up again. And I didn't know the law. I don't know how that works. I think my ex had an advantage. He had someone that did. At that point, he was working as a prison guard too. So, they knew the system better than I did, And then my parents they came together with my ex and his girlfriend, and they went to a lawyer. Anyways, I went to the ocean. That I don't usually get to have a vacation, and I went to the ocean when the kids were there. I went to the ocean for like 3 days, 4 days the most, with my partner, and I came home to be met by a sheriff who was serving me papers, and he was telling me that they were taking me to court. I had pages and pages and pages of reports against me from my parents and my ex, but mostly my parents. So any little thing that I confided in them, that I was struggling with the kids' behaviors and stuff, that was in that report. Everything they were putting in that report, and they were trying to make me go to court. So it was an ex parte, I believe it was called. And the kids, they had the right to keep the kids there and not have them come home and then start trials saying that they weren't safe with me. And so I was devastated, of course. Okay? And that's the ultimate betrayal that I could have had, right? And yeah. And so now my partner's really angry. He's already got these issues, right? So yeah, he's really getting pissed. Sorry. He's really having a lot of anger problems, And so anyhow, I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And all I could think about was my poor kids, And what it must be doing to them. And yeah. So anyway, so I didn't know law. I had no money. I had no support systems. Okay? And now my sister did say that she would loan me some, and I would move over there and could help fight, my oldest sister. And but again, I'd have to go there, and I didn't have. It wasn't reality. I couldn't just get up and leave and do that. For one thing, as much as I would have loved to. The other thing is that I knew what was going to happen. Okay, I knew, first of all, and I was scared too at this point, because I'm like, oh, not because I was guilty, because I was like, oh my gosh, I knew what I was facing and what this could be and how ugly this was, and I knew that what this meant, that I would have to go to trial, and I would have to defend myself, and I'd have to talk about everything, bring everything up about my parents, and I'd have to put all their dirty laundry out there, and I'd have to also, so that hurt me. I didn't want to hurt them either, believe it or not, and I didn't. I did not want to hurt anyone, and I knew that I would have to do that. And then, but ultimately, I knew that if they put my kids on the stand, what it would do to them. They were already emotionally so hurt. And then the other thing is that I already knew, that I already knew, and God put that there. He showed me, he said to me, he said, Louise, you've got to let go, let me in, let go, let God. And I didn't want to. I had to at this point. And so anyway, I had to. And he showed me. He said, this is how I felt. I'm not sure if it came from him at this point, but as long as I was in the picture, my kids were going to be mentally, emotionally tortured, because at this point it was personal against me. Not only my ex and his family, his girlfriend, but my parents. Now, okay? So I did what I thought was best for them. I let go. I let go. I let go of them because that thought alone, I couldn't bear it. I could not bear it. So I stepped aside for them, whether people want to believe it or not. Not because I chose a man over them like I was accused of. Not at all. I let go. And I remember, and I forget, my oldest calling me crying. He said, "Mommy, I don't want to stay." And I couldn't, and he was so upset. And I had to pull myself together, and I had to tell him, I said, you have to, it's best. You have to stay with your brother and your sister. I wasn't going to put him through any more. And I wasn't going to separate my kids. And that's why I did that. And my partner at the time is just like angry. He was even angry at this point at the kids. And it wasn't, I'm telling him, it's not the kids' fault. They were manipulated, they were brainwashed, they were thrown into all this. This is not their fault. And so he had so much anger, even more starting to build at this point, And I get it too, but it wasn't right. But so anyway, yeah. So this is a super long video, right? It is. But this was where a lot of my darkness, major darkness, really set in my life, okay? And, yeah. So I think, again, there's a lot more to this than what I said, but you have a picture of it. And I had to suffer, and I did suffer, and I did have, again, I had all those other woundings already that I had on my plate that I wasn't healed from, okay? So keep that in mind. And, but, again, I didn't understand why, at the time, why God would say to let go. And I would have to leave, my kids would have to leave like that, leave my life, why that was okay. He didn't think it was okay, but I didn't see clearly, and I was angry, and I was confused, and I was hurt, and I was having a lot of pain, and I was grieving, and so now I was going through another big loss. And they do say, that when you lose a child, how hard it is. But even it's more difficult when you lose them. They didn't pass on, but you lose them and they're alive, and you lose them. So that is that's torture for a parent. So, yeah. But it's really hard. So, yeah. So anyway, I know that there's, people just, again, there's a lot of, this world is messy, right? Life is messy, but we really need to love. Choose love. Love who you're with. Love the people in your life. Cherish them. Protect them any way you can, right? The best way you can. And, I don't know. So that's where I think I'm going to leave this right now. And yeah, but I'm trying to find something else, something more inspiring to share with you before I leave. But it's just really hard right now to find anything, and I guess it's because, you know why? Because I didn't have anything at that point to really be inspired about, okay? This is really a low point in my life. This was really low. So, unfortunately, I have nothing to share because there was nothing for me to see good in this, other than that I was protecting my children the best way that I could with what my circumstances were at this point, with everything that had been done. So, yeah. Anyway, well, thank you for those who stayed with me this long for this video. I'm going to look at it. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this one. I'm feeling really, I'm not sure about it right now. But then again, I'm also feeling how I felt back then. And I have again, so now I'm lost. That's it. Now I'm lost. I'm in a lost place, right? I'm feeling lost, alone, lost, afraid. Okay? And everything that I've worked hard to protect, to keep together, to save, to I cherished, and build up for myself, fighting for myself, I'm only been knocked down harder. So anyway, okay. But that's where I'm going to leave all of you again. And I love all of you. I'm praying that you all have peace, comfort, and sending you all my love, all my light, and I will see you again soon. Okay? I love you guys.